Hello again, everyone. Welcome to 90s to Now. I am Jerry Strauss, and this is going to be a very, very unique conversation. We're just going to get right into it. As of this year, July 14th, 2023, the American Actors Union, SAG-AFTRA, went on strike over an ongoing labor dispute with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. The actors are on strike. It's coincided with the Writers Guild of America also having been on strike for some time. Hollywood shut down, people. We don't know what we're allowed to do. We don't know exactly what we're allowed to say. We're trying to navigate this thing together, and the best way to do it is with two of our favorite guests that we've ever had here on 90s to Now. They've both won over all of our hearts on TV shows that we're not going to say them, but you've enjoyed them very much over the years, and now we're going to do it again. They're going to help us kind of understand what's going on from the front lines. Christy and Lakin, Jodie Sweetin, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for
Hey,
having us.
absolutely. Glad to be here with you, Jerry. Not glad to be here because we're on strike and having to talk about that. But
Well,
we got to do what we got to do. So
exactly. And part of me wants to say, we're hoping this is going to be the first of a bunch of conversations that we have about this.
Right.
But part of me kind of hopes it's not. Part of me kind of hopes this all ends tomorrow, but you just never know, right?
If 2% less for these CEOs, if they could do with like a 30-foot yacht instead of 50, people would have healthcare. You know what I mean? It's so weird. It's almost like we are not asking for a lot. So yeah.
Well,
It could all be over very quickly if certain people would just figure it out.
I want to get your perspectives on this because again, not only are you guys on the front lines and living the life and being affected by this, but you've both had careers where you've been affected and lived through industry changes, technology changes that have affected your industry, even, prior strikes and such. So what an amazing perspective to really talk about this. For most of us in the world who don't work in entertainment, a lot of this is kind of recent news to us. Like, oh my God, everybody's on strike. And we're seeing these headlines and we're understanding what's going on for the first time. For you guys, how long has this process been where you can either sense it coming or the industry talking about it, the union talking about it, preparing you guys for it? How long has this road been to get to where we are?
I think it's long and it's short in some ways.
Right.
I think what Jodie and I experienced in the 90s as a business model in entertainment was very different than what you're seeing today.
Yeah.
So when people made appointment television, when they sat down and there was a VCR, maybe if you had a math degree, you could figure out how to record your favorite show. There was no TiVo, there was no DVR. There was certainly no streaming. The closest we got to any kind of premium entertainment was premium cable like HBO. Right. Now, the model has changed completely. And I would say most people have cut the cord of linear television and are watching on-demand programming from the likes of any streaming service that they like. So when the model changes because of technology and because of demand from the consumer, no longer do the same rules apply. So what you might have seen as a business model a long time ago in the 90s, what those streaming revenues would be because of residuals, because of cable, because of a show like Step by Step or Full House being bought by a cable and then going on and having second and third and fifth lives is very different than it is now. So the money is completely different. So we've seen that change over the course of the last 20 years. We've tried to keep up with it as best we could as a union and as people who have watched these changes grow. But when it comes to a point where these contracts are up and the pre-negotiation is starting or the negotiation is starting, the union is then starting to tell the actors, this is what we feel like we need to ask for. This is what we're hearing from our membership. When 88% cannot afford healthcare, which means they're not making $26,000 a year, which is the baseline to make your healthcare.
Yeah.
there's a problem. And the problem is we need to change the model in order to update it on our end. So it then became very quick when we all realized, oh no, it's not going well. And we all need to get behind, our union to try to negotiate for something better.
Right. And I think so. What's happened also is as streaming services and technology has changed, what we've seen is no longer the entertainment business running like the entertainment business. We've seen the entertainment business running like a tech business, right? And a tech business is, like any sort of social media or anything, is all about acquiring users and exploiting the data, right? And so if that's what your business model is, which is get as many people and then extract as much information from that as possible and give them a very tiny niche of what's out there, you suddenly start making so much content that you lose sight of what this was, which was entertainment and art. And suddenly it becomes about how many new users do we have, how many that and it becomes the CEOs beholden to shareholders, investors, stock markets, which is what tech companies do, right? They are, and all companies have been, all these entertainment companies have been publicly traded for a while, but when your entire purpose is to just make sure that shareholders and investors are making money and you have been going in an upward direction, you will continue to figure out whatever you have to do to make money, right? So you start cutting everything, and no longer are the people that are working in this business able to have a living. It suddenly becomes tech billionaire status or working serfdom.
Yeah.
And I think also what is happening is the misconception that a lot of people have about the business of entertainment that, we're all making, Tom Cruise money.
Right.
That would be lovely.
Not true.
But it's definitely not true. And I think, when people are hearing like 88% of our membership doesn't make $26,000 a year, suddenly people are like, oh, wait, what? And I think that's also been a huge thing. But really, I think that talking about that long and short of it, this has all been the long stuff kind of coming as, it's the business model is changing.
Right.
And then all of a sudden AI was like this little thing like, hey guys, it's coming. Oh my God, AI's here, and and everything changed because suddenly the people who are running the business model off of how can we cut corners and make the most content for the cheapest amount possible were like, wait, we can just make people and make
and we can
and create art and scan your license for $300 and own you forever.
Yeah.
There, watch Black Mirror, or, well, don't, because it's on a thing, but you know what I mean? Like these shows that come out that are warning us of what is happening if we are not paying attention. And suddenly everyone's paying attention, and SAG-AFTRA and WGA are refusing to just keep going in the direction that things are heading, because we know that the end goal is to basically get rid of the artists and just cut right to the profit.
That's right.
Yeah.
And here's the other
that
thing.
We aren't getting any share of that profit at all.
No. And here's the other thing I'll say, again, let's talk about the business model. Back in the day, you might book a couple of guest stars on some, network television shows. You're being paid a base salary, which is a nice small chunk of change. But what you're hoping for is that show to rerun or to hopefully go as many episodes as possible so that it gets another life on cable, because then you'll be able to see residuals coming in the form of payment in your mailbox for maybe the next 5 years. A bigger sum that every single time that show airs, it goes down, 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 down. But all of those little jobs that you do can add up. And a lot of people like myself, who those years where I wasn't a series regular or I wasn't working, in a certain capacity all the time on one singular show, I would just do all these little tiny jobs in the hopes that all of those residuals would add up and I could make my health insurance that year. That's how a lot of us middle class actors live. So when you're not seeing that same kind of residual come in and you're seeing pennies on the dollar, the entire model is different for everyone, and it's not a sustainable wage. And I'll put it this way: if you were a surgeon, okay, or you're a CPA, and someone comes in and says, I'd like you to do my taxes, and I say, fine, no problem, it's $450. Great, I'll pay you that. And then they come back the next year and they say, no, but I want you to do my taxes again, but I don't want to pay you this time. So every time you're consuming that television program in which somebody worked on and you're not paying them anything, you're getting their work for free. No surgeon would continue to do surgery on anyone for free over and over, the same surgery over and over and over again. We're not asking anyone else in this business to do that. Yeah. So why would we do that to our actors?
And the interesting thing, looking at it from a broader perspective, is, we're talking about TV, we're talking about movies, we're talking about actors, but this is really art in general. This is the way that our society has evolved as far as our relationship with art because of how technology is evolved. We had Art Alexakis from the band Everclear on the show recently, so cheap plug, check that out. I think I'm allowed to plug my own show, I think, under SAG rules.
Your own show, you can. Yes, right.
Yes. And he put it in such a clear way, in that, we were talking about the importance of touring, and, he explained how, back in the day, you tour to push the music that you put out,
right,
and you make your money from the music you put out. But
now
artists are no longer making.
They don't make money.
Right.
They've been warning us about the streaming model for a long time.
Yeah.
As far recording artists, because they have really it's that same thing with like streaming, where they're like, oh, we'll pay you a penny, or we'll pay, 0.0000001 cents. And when the ease of access is there, if you're not paying people, it's people think that you are on top of the world, and really you're not getting compensated for your time or your art.
And not only that, we talk about the broader scheme of what the entertainment industry and the people that it employs. It's not just about actors. Yes, the fight is actors and writers. We're the ones on strike. But when we are not allowed to do our job, in order to try to fight for a better conditions and better way of life, you think about the trickle down effect to all of our brothers and sisters who work in this industry, some of which are not unionized and don't have the luxury of falling back on a union. All the people that are employed in order to make a television show, when you decide, as in your corner office somewhere, that you're just going to scan someone's face in order to pinch a penny, think about all the background actors that would no longer have jobs. Think about all the makeup artists that are hired to do the background that now don't have jobs. Think about the PAs that are set to wrangle background, that are set to, process guest actors. This is a big trickle down effect that would have massive, massive changes in our industry that I think would eradicate so many jobs. And I think it's a huge problem.
Right. And we're already seeing, with so much of the computer generated stuff, we even see, the abuse of programmers and editors and things in that, it's the model has become abusive across the board, because it is expecting people to continue to labor for not enough to keep themselves alive. And that's also across the board, right? That's why, UPS almost was striking. That's why fast food workers were striking. That's why strikes are happening. And, as actors, we know that our faces are out there and visible, and people know who we are. So I think part of the hope also is that if we're out there talking about some of the things that are going on, these are issues that don't just affect our business. And so I think the hope is that also we are creating that awareness that, like, if you think that this is us or just compartmentalized over in this business, it's not. It's coming down the road for everyone. And if we don't figure this out now, it's too late.
This is the shot. This is our shot.
And this is, it's so cool. You mentioned, your brothers and sisters. I mean, there's such a clearly communal aspect to you know, everybody sort of banding together for this cause. I'm curious what the vibe is like, not just on the picket lines, but just in general, like in Los Angeles, like in, you know, in your world, like, can you palpably feel like this banding together of sort of, you know, the ground floor against the ivory tower, so to speak? Like, has that kind of taken over the atmosphere, the environment, the culture of where you live and breathe?
I mean, I've been feeling that for a while. Yeah, I've definitely been just in other active movements and stuff. It's, you know, you can only really push people so far and continue to break them and not support them so far until something, you know, until people start going, this isn't right. I think there's a problem here, and I'm not going to do this anymore.
Yeah. There's a lot of people, you know, I saw some people from the Goldbergs on the lines last week. I feel like I've tried to organize some friends to, you know, get out and go together. Not only is it more fun, there's more camaraderie in it, but it is I think it's important to show up in solidarity. And I did so with the writers. I have many writers friends who have been out of work now a long time.
Yeah.
I know couples who one's a writer and one's an actor.
Yeah.
And you know, it's hard for everyone right now. We have to get through this time, and I've got friends all across the board, and I'll say this, like, as a director, when I've sat in that seat as well, I look around at the crew around me, and I can see every single person and what they're doing in order to make this one thing happen. So I've said this before, but television is a team sport. It is a fast, very demanding, high stress job in which it takes a village to make it work. And anyone who sits, you know, in an office and cuts corners or thinks that they're just beholden to try to find this cut or that cut in order to get a bonus at the end of the day, and doesn't ever come down to set to really see how the sausage is made, has no real understanding of what any of these people do, and no real respect for the time, the tenacity, the long hours, the hard work that anyone puts themselves through on these jobs. Makeup artists, they're there at 4 a.m. Actors who sit in a trailer for 10 hours because we had a million other things we had to do. We're late. We have to get to them. When they finally come on set, it's like, I'm so sorry you've been sitting there for 10 hours. I need you to cry. Just cry on cue. Ready? You ready to go? I mean, and they do, because that's what actors are they're trained for, they're good at, and they, you know, and I could go on and on about the jobs that everybody does, the transpo people, like we could go on and on.
I would think, I always say the thing that I love the most about this business is sort of the weird little families that you collect and build along the way on every project. And so, you know, that sense of family and brothers and sisters that exists before there is even a strike. The people you work with on these shows, you're with these people, you know, if you're doing single cam stuff, sometimes you're with these people 15, 16 hours a day or more.
More than your
family, more, you know, you are in the trenches with them. And oftentimes, depending on what you're doing, you are in some really highly stressful situations with these people. And you go through stuff together. You work through stuff together. You work through family emergencies together, because there are no sick days. There's no off days. You show up and do your job. And, you know, that is, I think, what people are seeing now is like, this is, you know, we're committed to standing up for each other. We are committed to coming out and saying 88% of us deserve better.
Yeah.
And when people say, well, I can't afford my healthcare either, you know, I don't work in entertainment, I go, then you deserve better too. You know, this isn't an either or thing. I think people so much in this time and in this space, you know, it's either I get and you get nothing, or you get it all and I get nothing. And there's this idea of scarcity, right? And what we're saying out there on the front lines and in many of the union and labor movements right now is that there is not the scarcity that we have been told that there is. There is enough money to pay for people to make living wages and to have health care, but it requires billionaires and stockholders to say, I am willing to not make record profits so that people can actually live. And when you call it out directly like that, I think people start to understand that this is about more than just, you know, some artists and actors and writers wanting more money. That's not what this is. We're not making that kind of money to begin with, most of us. And it's across the board. This is happening everywhere. Record profits are being made while people are living in their cars. Our business in Los Angeles has tons of working homeless. Tons. Much like Amazon. Much like all of these other large companies. They have huge populations of working homeless people because they are making record profits while other people are working 14, 15, 16 hours a day and cannot pay for a place to live, let alone go see a doctor. And in this country, that is unacceptable. And the people are finally saying it. And somebody better listen. Because you know, this is unsustainable.
Yeah. I'm curious what you guys think the end game to this is. I know, you know, clearly, you know, and I've heard this sentiment echoed a lot, and you've said it yourself. This is the moment. This is the time to fight for these things. Obviously, we've got two sides who are very diametrically opposed as to, you know, I guess the proper arrangement here, so to speak. Is it the idea of kind of communicating to the world, communicating to the consumer the importance of this issue, and having them get on, you know, on the side of the unions, on the side of the actors, on the sides of the writers, and perhaps reject the product, reject the content, maybe move away, make less profitable the stuff that is not being, you know, where stuff is not being paid, or performers are not being paid as they should. Is that what it is? Is it currying the...
I think for me, the end game is for everyone across the board to realize that that you're next. This is not, you know what I mean? That really your job will be affected next somehow by technology, by greed, by corporate greed. And unless all of the dominoes start falling and we all start holding that line, you know, I tell people all the time, like, I'm not just out here for the WGA and SAG-AFTRA. I am out here for people working across the board who cannot afford to make a living in this country, and how unacceptable that is. Yeah. So the end game is really shifting the dynamic and not giving in just because they have the money to wait us out.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and that's their end game. I mean, they've so much as said it, you know, is to basically wait until people are losing their homes and, you know, losing their apartments and stuff. And, you know, I think once a lot of us heard that, we were like, oh, okay. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know when this will end. I can't predict that. I don't know how it will end. I know eventually it will end.
Right.
These things in history always do. Some middle ground will happen, and I guarantee that the consumer in so much does drive some of these decisions. Yes. Am I telling people to boycott? No. But do I think people will get tired of waiting around for fall content? Yes. I don't think that people turn their television on to watch a robot. I don't think a robot has chemistry with someone else. I don't think a robot can improvise. And I don't think that that CEO in the corner office, nobody wants to watch him or her on television. They come to watch the actor. They come to watch the cast of The Bear. People are going to be like, when do I get my third season of blah, blah,
right.
blah?
Right.
So yeah, eventually it will be a problem, because all of those, you know, a lot of those writers, a lot of those showrunners, they're going to go off and, you know, do something else eventually. And if they're not allowed to do their show, so I think some of those big names will be in jeopardy of not wanting to renew their contract or moving on when the strike does end. So I think that eventually all things have to come to an end at some point. But the point Jodie makes is correct. Absolutely. This is a much wider and much broader conversation than, and we can't, and I think the biggest misconception, especially by those who aren't in the industry, is that we're a bunch of whiny actors who are overpaid to begin with, who are asking for money. And I have to be very clear on that. That is not the conversation that we're having. And that's not what this is about. And I encourage anyone who believes that to dig a little deeper into the average working actor who isn't even middle class anymore. Because not only has the middle class actor eroded, the middle class has eroded
there is no middle class
the United States
general.
of America.
Right.
So let's all ask ourselves that question.
Right. And that's exactly why I keep saying, like, it's not just this is all of our problem. This will be, you see it in us. This is going to be all of our problems. We are very visible in it right now. But with all the union movements across the board, we are, in solidarity and in support, because, this stuff is the greed of a few is literally depriving people of the ability to take care of themselves. And that's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And we are reaching a point right now, I think, in our country in very many ways that we're just like, nope, and we're done, And so I think, I'm glad that this is happening right now. I'm not glad that we're on strike. I'm glad that that we have taken a stand. I'm honored to be out there on the lines with all of these amazing, incredible people. But I just want consumers and people to understand that this is not a fight between, a bunch of really rich, wealthy people. This is a fight between, people who rent houses and drive used cars and make a normal living and just try to, make sure that there's healthcare and things like that. And that should be there for everyone.
And try to survive job to job. We don't have job security in our business. So, I think it takes a lot in order to survive as long as Jodie and I have. I think it takes a lot of pivoting, a lot of ingenuity, a lot of hustle, a lot of financial acumen. It's not a linear path.
No. I don't think anyone goes into art to go and be like, I think I'm going to start here and just work my way up steadily over 25 years and retire with a gold watch. That is definitely not. This is the wrong business for you.
Wrong business to be in.
You might be able to buy 50 gold watches, or you might
I have to sell.
And I might have to sell them all. Right. And that's just the nature of this business. And, again, the changing landscape of much of labor across the board is seeing this, that it is, we are getting paid significantly less for the same amount of work, and cost of living has increased. Minimum wage across the board has not increased since 1994 or something like that. And it's been like a ridiculously long time. Nothing is keeping pace with what people need, this area included. And so we're determined to make sure that this business doesn't fall into the hands of purely greed and tech interested, corporations. And that's what we've seen, right? Is it's no longer, it used to be the entertainment business. Now it's this weird, like, technology entertainment business, where you're watching your entertainment on the same thing that you're texting with, and you're so and they want to, they know that people are watching 3 screens at a time, so they're like, well, this needs to be more second screen content. You're literally paying people to do a job so that no one's going to pay attention to. The dynamic of what we are asking for and looking for in this business is nothing outrageous. And I just really hope that people are starting to see that.
Yeah. And these are the kinds of conversations that I think more and more people are going to benefit from seeing and hearing from individuals like yourself, because this is going to help people understand that this isn't just, oh, we're making a lot of money and we want some more, that this is truly this fundamental issue that is just so important, and everybody involved is so passionate about it that you're all willing to essentially put yourselves out of the game for now to make this sacrifice to go on strike in order to fight for the future, because that's really how important it is. I want to quickly let people know about, obviously the website. I'll tell you right now, obviously, because we got a lot of questions, how can I get involved? Where can I find people picketing in my area? There's so much information on the website, SAG-AFTRA.org. You can find out all sorts of things, both regionally and just more information about everything going on. So it's a
great. They post a lot of stuff
resource
online too. Each week they post where different picket actions are going to be, times, things like that. There's different speakers coming down to different studios from, labor divisions, from SAG, from the WGA. There's a lot of different places to get involved. And also, I always like to tell people, if you're in this business and you are looking for resources, there are a ton of resources here in LA, food banks, donation centers that are, if you walk in with a WGA or a SAG-AFTRA card, they will automatically give you groceries, food, all kinds of stuff that you need to be able to make it through this strike. And there are also funds set up. I believe the SAG-AFTRA Strike Fund, and I'm not sure if it's the WGA Strike Fund, what it exactly is called, but you can definitely go and contribute to the strike funds, because not only are we helping support our members, but we're also helping to support members of IATSE, members of, the Costumers Guild, things like that, people that are affected by these strikes who maybe aren't directly in the unions that are striking themselves, but who are still out of work. So there's lots of ways that people can support to help make sure that, across the board, there is, a fighting force out there that has what they need to be able to hold this on.
Yeah. And, thankfully, you guys, have social media, you have different outlets that, you can share your thoughts, you can share your feelings, and you can communicate with fans, with people who want to know what's going on directly from you guys. And there's certain things that you guys have been allowed to do as far as different outlets and such, podcasts, and we appreciate you being on this show. Let me know, what else do you guys have? What, beyond fighting for the cause, what else do you have going on right now during this time when things are so limited? We know, Jodie, big news recently about you and Andrea Barber have your podcast now. It's been birthed to the world. It's out. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that? And
we have a new podcast coming out. It's a rewatch podcast. And I know so many people out there have all of the DVDs, so you don't even need to go and hook on online for anything, because those DVDs are out. And those DVDs are things that actors and writers and people still get residuals from. So if you'd like to go out and and help support and be able to watch the show, buy the DVD. But yeah, I'm really excited. It's going to be a really fun journey back to growing up on television and what that has been like, and not just about, what it was like in each scene, but what it was like behind the scenes and what it was like to grow up as a kid in this business. Christine also knows that very, very well. So we of course picked, the time to launch that. And then it was like recording our first episode and Fran Drescher's on camera. And we're like, oh God, right, what are we doing? But yeah, I've been doing that. And I've also been doing some animation stuff. I have an animated special coming out around Christmas time that I was down at Comic-Con promoting, because we can do voiceover and acting stuff in that regard. So I did that, and just doing some other fun things, fun creative things, stage readings, and just trying to stay artistic and creative, and from going completely crazy, which I don't know how that's going. We'll see, but yeah.
Well, how about you, Christine? Have you gone completely crazy yet, or?
I hate not working. It's like the hardest thing for me. There was a a musical, for a family musical that I co-directed last year at the Gary Marshall Theater called Cindy and the Disco Ball. It's a 70s retelling of the classic Cinderella. It's an empowerment musical for all ages where Cindy really figures out how to find her voice. And it's really, I think it's very timely. There's a lot of support of the arts and why arts are important. That's one of the big messages of the show. So we're bringing that back to the Gary Marshall Theater in October. We start auditions end of this month. And so I'll be working on that. I love being in the theater. It's like one of my loves. It's a great place for me, for creativity and also just my mental health. So I'll be doing that. Stacey Keenan and I have a rewatch podcast as well, but we've been working on it for over a year. It's been a labor of love. She is very busy because she has a totally different career these days. But we have it in the can. We've finished it up actually in the winter, and now I think we're trying to figure out like what our launch pad is. So stay tuned. I know I keep telling you that, but stay tuned.
Right.
That's awesome. And hopefully keep our fingers crossed. We'll keep on talking about the issues that are important as they continue to be important, and hopefully things get resolved in a positive manner. And you guys have certainly provided us with years of entertainment throughout your careers already, and we want a world where you can continue to do so and provide us with real human entertainment the way that that we all deserve it, as
the
a
way
people.
that humans have done for all of humanity with other humans. Right.
And a laugh track.
Always right. Well, that was human adjacent. You know what I mean? That was actual humans laughing, just maybe not at the exact moment that you heard that, right? So it was still humans, though. Still humans.
It sounds
Somebody
pretty good
got
right
paid
now
for those laughs. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, look, and again, we just want to mention it, of course, if you want one place to go for tons of information on everything that we've talked about on this show, of course, it's SAG-AFTRA.org. And, as you guys said before, you can look into anything going on in your neck of the woods. We've got people picketing in New York today as we speak. Right now, as a matter of fact, there's a big rally, and all over the place, people are getting involved in this fight, so to speak, which it really is. So, thank you guys for again giving us a report from the front line, so to speak. I feel like this is CNN in a way.
The most official I've ever felt.
Well, thank you so much. I know it's crazy, it's weird
Absolutely.
times, but we're glad for you to have to bring some of that to us and share it with us.
We figured July in the hottest summer on record would be a great time to go walk around in the sun. So,
yeah. Why not?
Yeah. If that doesn't show you right there how to it, you know what I mean? It's July. So what? We're standing out here with our signs. We're doing this because heat stroke. Right. Give me heat stroke or give me.
I've got a large hat. I got sunscreen.
Yeah, I got umbrellas. Yeah. We certainly don't have shade over by Universal anymore, but yeah.
We have shared so much on this show, but I think I've got a large hat is now the quote of the entire episode. So
I've got a large hat. Look out.
Hashtag I've got a large hat. We're gonna make it a big deal.
That doesn't right. You don't know where that's going afterwards. Just
you'll see my large hat on Thursday, Jodie.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
You guys have fun under Christine's large hat. And,
yeah. I'm gonna move in to
most
Christine's
people
large
can't.
hat
I'll just take you under my wing.
Well, look, if this thing goes on long enough, it's just going to be Christine as a tent pole. We're all going to be living under Christine's large hat.
Yeah, my large hat. It's fine. We'll make it work.
We need footage. We need video.
Oh, yes. All right. Well, thank you so much for having us on, Jerry. And I just really hope that people will continue to educate themselves about what we're really fighting for. And, please don't let what you think the situation is and what you think actors are making. Please, I really beg people to look into it a little bit more, because this is not the money and the glamour that you think it is for the overwhelming majority of people in this business. So thanks for giving us the opportunity to come on and talk about it.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you to both of you. Thank you to everyone checking it out. Please share, subscribe. This is an important one, so make sure that you pass it on. And we will see you next time here on 90s to Now. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks.